Daniel Carter stood in the center of the Galactic Council chamber and tried to control his anger. He had been Earth's ambassador for 8 years. In that time, he had learned to deal with aliens who looked down on humanity. He had learned to smile when council members made jokes about humans being newcomers to the galaxy. He had accepted that Earth was the smallest voice in a room full of powerful species. But this was different. This was about survival. The council chamber was enormous. It floated in space above a planet called Prime. 12 species sat in a circle around the speaking floor. Each had controlled space for thousands of years before humans even left Earth. They sat directly across from Daniel. They were large, reptilian creatures with dark scales and cold eyes. Their ambassador watched Daniel with something that looked like amusement. Daniel activated the hologram projector. Images filled the air above him, burning cities, destroyed ships, bodies floating in space. The data scrolled past in 3 languages. 3 colonies, Daniel said. His voice was steady, but his hands shook. 50,000 dead, men, women, children. The Empire attacked without warning and without cause. These were peaceful settlements. They had no military presence, no weapons, nothing that could threaten anyone. He turned to face the ambassador directly. We ask the Council to intervene, to enforce the laws that all member species agreed to follow, to protect the innocent. Leaned forward. When he spoke, his voice was deep and harsh. The human speaks of laws but ignores reality. Those worlds were in space. They encroached on our territory. We defended what was ours. Those systems were uninhabited when we arrived, Daniel shot back. We filed proper claims. We followed every council regulation. The records are all here. Records can be disputed, said with a wave of his clawed hand. Borders can be interpreted differently. This is a territorial matter, not a council concern. Daniel looked around the chamber. He searched for support among the other species. The representative, a thin creature with large eyes, looked away. The who controlled 100 worlds studied their data tablets. The council speaker, and being named Thorol, clicked his mandibles together in thought. Ambassador Carter, Thorol said. His translator made his voice sound mechanical. The council has reviewed your evidence. We have heard arguments from both sides. We must consider many factors. The Empire is a major power. They control critical trade routes. Their economy supports dozens of other species. Daniel felt his stomach drop. He knew where this was going. Earth is a valued member of this council, Thorol continued. But we cannot risk destabilizing the entire galactic community over what appears to be a territorial dispute. The Council's decision is that this matter does not warrant intervention. We recommend both parties engage in bilateral negotiations to resolve their differences. The chamber filled with the sounds of approval. Clicking, humming, and other alien noises that Daniel had learned meant agreement. Only a few species remained silent. Bilateral negotiations. Daniel could not keep the disbelief from his voice. They killed 50,000 people. They destroyed 3 worlds, and you want us to negotiate. Furthermore, Thorol added, the Council finds that human settlements did create tension in a sensitive region. Earth should consider offering reparations to the Empire for the disruption caused. The chamber went quiet. Daniel stood frozen. Reparations. They wanted humanity to pay the species that had murdered their people. Was smiling now, a terrible smile that showed rows of sharp teeth. Something broke inside Daniel Carter. 8 years of diplomacy. 8 years of being patient, of being the junior partner, of accepting that humans were new to the galaxy and had to prove themselves. All of it shattered in that moment. He reached up and removed the emblem from his uniform. It was a small pin showing Earth against a field of stars, the symbol of humanity's place in the Galactic Council. Daniel held it for a moment, feeling its weight. Then he bent down and placed it carefully on the floor. I came here believing in this council, he said quietly. Every word was clear in the silent chamber. I believed in justice. I believed in mutual protection. I believed that advanced species would stand together against aggression. I was wrong. He straightened up and looked at each council member in turn. Earth joined this council with hope. We offered our friendship, our resources, our trust. Today you have thrown that back in our faces. You have shown us that justice only matters when it is convenient, that protection only applies to the powerful. Thorol raised one clawed appendage. Ambassador, you are speaking out of turn. The Council's decision is final. Then so is mine, Daniel said. Humanity withdraws from the Galactic Council effective immediately. We will defend ourselves. We will remember who our friends are. He paused. And we will remember who abandoned us when we needed help most. He turned and walked toward the exit. His footsteps echoed in the silent chamber. Behind him, the council erupted in noise. Some species were shocked, others were angry, they were laughing. Daniel did not look back. He walked through the corridors of the station to the human transport ship. His staff followed in stunned silence. As the ship undocked and turned toward Earth, Daniel stared out the window at the council station, growing smaller behind them. "Sir," his aide, a young woman named Brooks, spoke hesitantly. "What happens now?" Daniel was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "Now we survive, and we make sure this never happens to anyone else." The message reached Earth 3 hours later. Fleet Admiral received it in the headquarters of the United Defense Force. He was a tall man with gray hair and the bearing of someone who had spent 40 years in military service. He read Daniel's report twice, then called an emergency meeting. The room filled quickly. Military commanders, government officials, scientists. The president herself attended via secure link. They watched the recording of Daniel's speech to the council. They saw the emblem placed on the floor. They heard the council's decision. When it finished, the room was silent. "Options," the president said. Admiral stood. "We have 73 warships currently in service. They have over 400. If they decide to finish what they started, we cannot stop them." "Then we build more ships," someone said. "With what resources? What time? It takes 5 years to build a dreadnought." "Then we change how we build them." This was a new voice. Dr. Fletcher stepped forward. He was the lead scientist on several classified projects. "I have been working on something, a new approach to ship construction, automated systems, new power cores. If we commit everything to this, we can build faster than any species in the galaxy." Admiral studied him. "How much faster?" "Give me 5 years," Fletcher said, "and I will give you a fleet that can protect every human in space." The president leaned forward on the screen. Her face was grim. "We are talking about militarizing our entire civilization, converting every resource to defense. That is a massive commitment." "They left us no choice," Admiral said quietly. "The council made it clear, we stand alone, so we need to be strong enough to stand." The vote was unanimous. Earth would withdraw fully from galactic affairs. Every shipyard would be converted. Every resource directed to one goal, building a fleet powerful enough that no one would ever dare attack humanity again. 5 years passed. The Galactic Council barely noticed. Earth had withdrawn, disappeared from galactic politics, and the universe continued as it always had. The Empire expanded into former human territory. Trade routes shifted. New alliances formed. A few species wondered what had happened to the humans, but most forgot about them entirely. Captain Lisa Morgan stood on the bridge of the USS Defiance and watched the patrol route display. The Defiance was one of humanity's older warships, built before Earth left the Council. It was a good ship, but Lisa knew it was outdated compared to what the major powers fielded. That was why the Defiance spent its time on the edge of human space, watching for threats that might come. "Contact," her sensor officer called out. "Small vessel design. They are broadcasting a civilian code." "Let them through," Lisa said, "but keep an eye on them." They were a peaceful species. They made beautiful art and wrote philosophy that many species admired. They had no real military and relied on the Council for protection. Lisa had met a few over the years. They were kind people who seemed genuinely sad about what happened to Earth. The ship passed through the patrol zone without incident. Lisa watched it go and wondered if they were running from something. More and more, she saw refugees moving through space. Species fleeing conflicts that the Council would not address. "Captain," her communications officer said, "encrypted message from Fleet Command, priority level." Lisa took the message in her ready room. It was from Admiral himself. Brief and direct as always. "Report to Sector 7 immediately. Tell no one." Sector 7 was deep in the asteroid belt between Jupiter and Saturn. It was empty space as far as official records showed. Lisa set course and arrived 3 days later. What she saw took her breath away. The asteroids were not empty. Hidden among them were shipyards, dozens of them, and ships, hundreds of ships in various stages of construction. They were like nothing Lisa had ever seen. Sleek hulls, advanced weapon systems, each one twice the size of the Defiance. A shuttle brought her to the command station. Admiral waited in the observation deck. He looked older than Lisa remembered. 5 years of stress had added lines to his face and more gray to his hair. "What is this?" Lisa asked. "This," said, "is the Prometheus Initiative. This is what we have been building since we left the Council." He pulled up a display. It showed shipyards throughout the solar system and beyond, facilities on Mars, construction platforms in orbit of Neptune, mining operations in the outer system, all hidden, all working constantly. How? Lisa could barely form the question. The resources alone would be. Every available resource, confirmed. Every factory converted, every scientist working on ship technology, every engineer focused on one goal. He gestured at the ships outside. Speed. We needed to build faster than anyone thought possible. Dr. Fletcher joined them. Lisa recognized him from news reports. He was the scientist who had made breakthroughs in power core design and automated construction. Traditional shipbuilding takes years because everything is done manually, Fletcher explained. We developed automated systems that can construct a hull in months. The power cores use new principles we discovered. Everything is designed for rapid production. How many? Lisa asked. Currently, 230 ships are complete and operational, said. Another 300 are in final stages. By the end of the year, we will have 1,000 warships. Lisa sat down. 1,000 ships. They had 400. The entire Galactic Council fleet numbered maybe 800 when combined. Humanity would have more firepower than any single faction in the galaxy. Why show me this? She asked. Because I need captains, said. The best captains, people I trust. You have been out there on the border. You know what the galaxy has become. The Council ignores problems until they become catastrophes. Species suffer while politicians debate. He turned to face her fully. We built this fleet for defense, to make sure no one can do to us what they did, but defense is not enough anymore. I want to do more. Lisa understood. You want to help others. The Council will not, said simply. So someone must. We have the power now. We should use it for something good. Over the next weeks, Lisa met with other captains. They came from all over human space, summoned quietly to Sector 7. Each received the same briefing. Each saw the fleet. And each was given a choice, take command of one of the new ships or return to regular patrol duty with full secrecy maintained. None of them chose to leave. Lisa took command of a new warship called the USS Liberty. It was beautiful, fast engines, heavy armor, weapons that could punch through any shield system she knew about. The crew was eager, trained on simulators for months before seeing the actual ship. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, things were getting worse. A trader named arrived at the Galactic Council station. He requested an emergency session. He had news from the border regions, evidence of human military buildup. He had seen shipyards, heard rumors of a massive fleet. The Council listened politely, then they dismissed him. The humans lack the industrial capacity, the representative said. They are a minor species. This is probably just patrol vessels. Still the ambassador laughed. Let them build whatever they want. It will not matter. They learned their place 5 years ago. But was persistent. He went to individual council members privately. He showed them images he had captured, though they were blurry and distant. He warned them that humanity might return as something very different from what they remembered. A few listened, most did not. On Earth, Admiral gathered the first battle group, 20 ships, full crews, weapons charged. He stood before the assembled captains in a massive hangar bay. We did not choose isolation, he said, his voice carried across the space. It was forced upon us. We did not choose to build a military fleet. It became necessary for survival, but now that we have this power, we must decide what to do with it. He paused, looking at each captain. We could use it for revenge. We could strike at those who wronged us. But that would make us no better than them. Instead, we will use it for protection, for justice, for the ideals that the Council abandoned. We are not conquerors, he continued. We are defenders, not just of humanity, but of anyone who needs defending. The galaxy will learn that humans keep their promises. And we promised ourselves 5 years ago that we would never let another species suffer the way we did. The captains stood and saluted, not with pride or aggression, with determination. Lisa returned to the Liberty and looked at her crew. They were young, most of them. They had grown up in a humanity that stood alone. They knew nothing but self-reliance and hard work, but they also knew the stories of what happened 5 years ago. They knew about the Council's betrayal. "We ready?" her first officer asked. His name was Carl Price, a veteran like Lisa. "Almost," Lisa said. "We have the ships, we have the training. Now we wait for the moment when the galaxy needs us." That moment came sooner than anyone expected. News reached Earth through various channels. The Empire was mobilizing a large fleet. Their target was the had apparently refused some trade agreement that the demanded. Now they were going to teach them a lesson. They sent desperate messages to the Galactic Council. They begged for intervention. They reminded the Council of the mutual defense agreements. They pleaded for help. The Council convened. They debated, they discussed, they delayed. Admiral watched the reports from Earth. He saw cities preparing for attack. He saw their small defense force trying to organize. He saw a peaceful species about to be destroyed because the Council would not act. He made a decision. Within hours, orders went out across the human fleet. 1,000 warships received activation codes. Crews reported to their stations. Engines powered up. Weapons systems came online. Daniel Carter, no longer an ambassador but still Earth's representative for important matters, recorded a message. It would broadcast across all Council frequencies at the right moment. 5 years ago, he said to the camera, the Council taught humanity a lesson. You taught us that we stand alone, that justice is a word without meaning, that the strong do as they wish while the weak suffer. He paused. You taught us well. We learned, we adapted, we survived. And now we return, not to rejoin your council, not to beg for your approval, but to show you what humanity does with power. We protect those who cannot protect themselves. We stand for those who have no one else. We are what you should have been. The message was ready. The fleet was ready. Now they just needed the signal. On the bridge of the Liberty, Lisa checked her systems one final time. Around her, the attack fleet arrived at the like a hammer. 200 warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel and immediately opened fire on the orbital platforms. The defenders, 20 small vessels designed more for patrol than combat, tried to respond. They lasted less than 10 minutes. Admiral watched from his flagship and felt satisfaction. They had been foolish to refuse terms. Now they would learn the cost of defiance. His ships moved into bombing positions above the major cities. "Begin bombardment," he ordered. The first energy beams struck the capital city. Buildings exploded. Fires spread. They had no shields strong enough to stop military-grade weapons. They were artists and philosophers, not warriors. Exactly the kind of weakness that despised. On the planet's surface, Elder stood in the council building and watched his city burn. He was old, even for his species. His large eyes held tears. Around him, his advisors panicked and shouted. Some wanted to surrender. Others wanted to evacuate. None of them had real solutions. Had sent 17 messages to the Galactic Council. He had begged. He had pleaded. He had reminded them of every treaty and agreement. The responses were always the same. The Council was discussing the situation. They were reviewing options. They advised patience and diplomatic resolution. Patience while his people died. A communication officer rushed in. "Elder, we are receiving a transmission. It is broadcasting on all frequencies, not from the signal is human." Human felt confusion. Humans had left the galaxy 5 years ago. Why would they send a message now? "Play it," he said. The hologram activated. A human appeared. He looked familiar too, though older than the last time they had met. It was Daniel Carter, the human ambassador who had walked out of the council chamber. "People of the galaxy," Daniel said. His voice was calm but carried weight. 5 years ago, humanity came before the Galactic Council and asked for justice. We asked for protection against those who murdered our people. The Council refused. They taught us that we were alone, that no one would stand with us. Watched, not understanding where this was going. We learned that lesson well, Daniel continued. We learned to stand alone, to defend ourselves, to rely on no one but humanity, but we also learned something else. We learned what it feels like to be abandoned, to have no hope, to face destruction while the powerful do nothing. The image changed, showing the planet from space. Right now, the people face that same despair. The Galactic Council debates while they die. We know how that feels, and we refuse to let it happen again. Suddenly, space above the planet lit up with new arrivals. Saw it on his sensors and could not believe the readings. Ships were dropping out of faster-than-light travel. Hundreds of them. No, not hundreds. Thousands. The computer counted and recounted, trying to make sense of impossible numbers. 1,000 warships appeared in formation around the. They were human vessels, but like nothing had seen before. Large, advanced, powerful. They moved with precision that suggested excellent training and coordination. The human message continued broadcasting. Humanity remembers the Council's betrayal, but we will not become what you are. Where you fail to protect the innocent, we will act. This is our choice. This is who we are. On the USS Liberty, Captain Lisa Morgan checked her weapon's status. Everything was green. Around her, the bridge crew worked with calm efficiency. They had trained for this moment. "All ships report ready," her tactical officer said. "Good," Lisa replied. She opened the fleet-wide channel. "Remember, our goal is to stop the attack and protect the. Disable enemy ships when possible. Destroy them if necessary. Show no mercy to those attacking civilians, but we are not executioners. We are defenders." The human fleet moved forward. It was beautiful in a terrible way. 1,000 ships advancing in perfect formation. Stared at his screens. His tactical officers were shouting reports. The numbers were all wrong. Humans should not have this many ships, should not have this level of technology. It was impossible. But it was happening. "All ships combat formation," ordered. His voice was not as steady as he wanted. "Prepare to engage." The fleet turned to face the human vessels. 200 against 1,000, had fought in dozens of battles. He had always won through superior numbers or superior technology. Now he faced an enemy that had both advantages. He had one hope: ships were proven in combat. These human vessels were untested. New ships, new crews, they might have numbers but lack experience. Commander Gregg led the human vanguard. His ship, the USS Freedom, was at the front of the formation. He had been a fighter pilot before joining the new fleet. He understood combat at a basic level: hit first, hit hard, make every shot count. "Enemy vessels are charging weapons," his sensor officer reported. "All ships defensive pattern Delta," Gregg ordered. "Wait for them to fire first. Let them show us what they have." The fleet opened fire. Energy beams and missiles crossed the space between the two forces. It was a massive barrage, enough firepower to destroy a dozen ships. The human vessels activated their shields and point defense systems. The energy beams splashed against barriers that glowed but held. The missiles were intercepted by automated guns that tracked and destroyed each one with precision. Not a single human ship took damage. "Our turn," Gregg said calmly. "All ships target enemy vessels, fire when ready." The human fleet returned fire. Their weapons were different from standard galactic technology. The beams were more focused, more powerful. They cut through shields like paper. Explosions bloomed across the enemy fleet as ships took critical hits. 3 warships exploded in the first volley. 5 more lost power and went dead in space. The rest scattered, their formation breaking apart. Watched in horror as his fleet fell apart. "All ships evasive action, reform at rally point 7. But the human ships were faster. They moved through the formation like predators. Every shot found a target. Every maneuver cut off an escape route. It was not just superior technology, it was superior tactics, superior training, superior everything. Lisa brought the Liberty through the center of the battle. Her ship targeted the vessels that were still firing on the planet. One by one, she disabled them. Her crew worked like a machine, each person knowing their job perfectly. "Captain, the enemy flagship is attempting to withdraw," her tactical officer said. Lisa checked her display. She saw a ship turning away from the battle, engines charging for a jump to faster-than-light speed. "Target their engines," she ordered. "Disable only, I want them alive." The Liberty's weapons fired. The precise beams struck the flagship's engine section. Explosions rippled along the hull. The ship went dark, drifting without power. Across the battlefield, the fleet was destroyed or captured. It took less than 2 hours. Not a single human ship was lost. 3 took minor damage, that was all. Lisa opened a channel to the flagship. Appeared on her screen. He looked defeated, broken. "You are beaten," Lisa said simply. "Order your remaining ships to stand down or we will destroy them." Stared at her for a long moment. Then he gave the order. One by one, the surviving ships powered down their weapons and surrendered. The battle was over. On the planet's surface, Elder watched the sky. The bombardment had stopped. The fires still burned, but no new weapons struck his city. Through the smoke, he could see human ships descending. Not warships. Support vessels, medical ships, relief craft. Human soldiers landed in the capital, but they did not come with weapons drawn. They came with medical supplies, with fire suppression equipment, with food and water. A human officer approached. She saluted, then removed her helmet. It was Captain Lisa Morgan. "Elder," she said, "I am Captain Morgan of the human fleet. We are here to help." Looked at her with his large eyes still wet with tears. "Why? Your people left the galaxy. Why would you return to save us?" Lisa was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Because 5 years ago we needed help and no one came. We know what that feels like. We know the despair. We promised ourselves that if we ever had the power to help others, we would use it. That promise matters more than politics, more than past betrayals. It matters more than anything." "The Council abandoned us," said softly. "I know," Lisa replied. "They abandoned us too, but we are not the Council. We are humanity, and we choose to be better." More human ships landed. Medical teams spread through the city. Engineers worked on damaged buildings. Soldiers helped evacuate people from dangerous areas. They worked alongside civilians, using translation devices to communicate, offering comfort and aid. In orbit, Admiral coordinated the relief effort from his flagship. He watched the reports coming in. Casualties were high, but would have been much worse without the intervention. The fleet was completely defeated. Human forces controlled the system. Daniel Carter's message was still broadcasting across all channels. By now, every species in the galaxy had heard it. Earth had returned, not as the desperate, pleading species that left 5 years ago, but as a power, as a force for protection. The Galactic Council received the news in stunned silence. They watched the battle recordings. They saw 1,000 human warships appear from nowhere. They saw the fleet destroyed in hours. The implications were clear and terrifying. Humanity now had the most powerful fleet in the galaxy, and they had just announced they would use it to protect anyone the Council failed to defend. It was a challenge, a declaration, a complete upheaval of galactic politics. On the Elder stood with Captain Lisa in the ruins of his council building. Human engineers were already drawing up plans for reconstruction. "What happens now?" asked. Lisa looked up at the sky, where human warships maintained orbit. "Now the galaxy has to decide what kind of place it wants to be. We have shown what humanity stands for. Others will have to make their own choices." The Galactic Council chamber had never been so crowded. Every species sent representatives. Every faction wanted to be heard. The usual order and protocol broke down as ambassadors shouted over each other. Council Speaker Thorol tried to maintain control. His mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of stress among his species. "Order, we must have order." No one listened. The chamber was chaos. Ambassador of the Empire stood at the center of the floor. He was larger than most beings in the room, his scales dark with rage. "The humans have committed an act of war. They destroyed a fleet without provocation. They invaded sovereign territory. This cannot stand." "Provocation?" A small voice cut through the noise. It was the representative, a young diplomat named. "Your fleet was bombing our cities. Your ships killed thousands of civilians. The humans stopped a massacre." "A territorial dispute," shot back. "Not a council matter. The humans had no right to interfere." "Like Earth's colonies were a territorial dispute," another voice called out. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. Thorol finally managed to restore some order. "The matter before us is simple. Humanity has demonstrated military capability far beyond what we believed possible. They have intervened in galactic affairs despite withdrawing from the Council. We must decide how to respond." Daniel Carter sat in the observation gallery. He was not a council member anymore. He had no right to speak in this chamber. But Thorol had invited him as an observer, probably hoping that seeing the human would intimidate some of the more aggressive voices. It was not working. "The humans must be made to disarm," a representative declared. "No single species should possess such military power. It destabilizes everything." "Interesting," Daniel said quietly, though his voice carried in the moment of silence after the statement. "They have 400 warships. They have nearly 600, but those numbers are acceptable." Thorol turned to him. "Ambassador Carter, you are here as an observer only." Former ambassador, Daniel corrected. He stood up. And I am observing that this council has not changed at all. 5 years ago, you refused to protect Earth because it was inconvenient. Today, you debate how to punish Earth for doing what you should have done. He walked down to the speaking floor. No one stopped him. Let me be clear about humanity's position. We did not ask permission to save we will not ask permission to help others. We answer to our own conscience, not to this council. That is exactly the problem, hissed. You act without authority, without oversight. What stops you from conquering us all? The fact that we have no interest in conquest, Daniel replied. We want only to defend the defenseless. If that threatens you, perhaps you should examine your own actions. The chamber erupted again. Some species agreed with Daniel. Others saw humanity as a dangerous rogue element. The division was clear. Over the next days, the council tried to form a unified response. It failed. The galaxy split into factions. The Empire led They argued that humanity must be forced to submit to council authority. Nearly 20 species joined them, either out of fear of human power or because they had their own reasons to oppose Earth. But other species saw things differently. They publicly announced their gratitude to humanity and offered a formal alliance. 12 smaller species that had felt vulnerable under council protection made quiet contact with Earth. They wanted assurances. They wanted to know if humanity would truly help them if needed. Admiral read the reports from his office on Earth. The diplomatic requests piled up. Some species wanted defense pacts, others wanted technology sharing. A few wanted to join humanity outright. President Harper visited him that evening. She was a short woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. She had led Earth through the 5 years of isolation with steady determination. The Council wants to meet with us, she said, sitting across from formal negotiations. They are offering to reinstate our membership with better terms. What do you think? Asked. I think they are afraid, Harper said bluntly. They saw our fleet. They know we can project power anywhere in the galaxy. They want to control us before we become too independent. We are already too independent. Exactly. She pulled up a document on her tablet. I am more concerned about the coalition. They are gathering allies. Intelligence suggests they are forming a fleet. Had expected this. Numbers. 3,000 warships, 20 different species contributing vessels. It is the largest fleet ever assembled. Was quiet 3,000 ships. Humanity had 1,000. The odds were not good. They will come here, Harper continued. They will demand we dismantle our fleet if we refuse. Then we fight, finished. Against half the galaxy, it could destroy us. It could, Harper agreed. But surrendering means returning to how things were, helpless, vulnerable, waiting for the next time someone decides to attack us. They sat in silence for a while, finally said, we prepare, we train. If they come, we show them that human ships are better than equal numbers. But he was not sure they could win. Superior technology only went so far against overwhelming numbers. Across the galaxy, the coalition fleet gathered. Admiral, recovered from his defeat took command. He wanted revenge. The government wanted to restore their dominance. Other species had their own reasons, but the result was the same. The largest military force in galactic history assembled with one target. Earth. Not everyone in the coalition was happy about it. Some species joined reluctantly. They feared human power, but also respected what humanity had done for Their commanders had private doubts. One of them was captain of the fleet. They were a warrior species who valued honor in combat, had watched the recordings of the battle. He had seen how precisely human ships fought, how they disabled enemies rather than destroying unnecessarily, how they immediately began relief efforts after the battle. It reminded him of the old codes: fight with honor, protect the weak, show mercy to the defeated. This does not feel right, he told his crew as they prepared to join the coalition. The humans saved innocent lives. Now we are ordered to attack them for it. His first officer, a younger named, nodded. Many in the fleet feel the same way, but orders are orders. Was not so sure anymore. On Earth, Captain Lisa Morgan prepared the USS Liberty for what might be their final battle. Her crew worked efficiently, but she could see the concern on their faces. They all knew the numbers. They all understood what 3,000 enemy ships meant. Captain, her first officer Carl Price approached. We are getting reports from intelligence. Not all of the coalition species are committed. Some might withdraw if given the chance. Might is not good enough, Lisa said, but it was something, a small hope. Daniel Carter recorded another message. This one would broadcast when the coalition fleet arrived. He chose his words carefully. To the species joining the coalition against Earth, he said to the camera, I understand your fear. I understand that seeing humanity rise to power concerns you, but ask yourselves, what are you really fighting for? He paused. Are you fighting because humans threaten you, or because your leaders cannot accept that they were wrong? We saved the because it was right. We will continue to help those in need. That is our only agenda. If you attack us, we will defend ourselves, he continued. But we do not want this war. We want only to live according to our values, to protect those who need protection, to stand for justice when others will not. Choose carefully, he finished. Because after this there is no going back. The galaxy will remember who stood for what. The message was ready. The fleet was ready. Now they waited. Admiral stood on the bridge of his flagship looking at the tactical display. Every human warship was positioned. Every system was armed. They had 1,000 ships against 3,000. The math was brutal. But humans had never been good at accepting impossible odds. Sir, his communications officer said, we are receiving a transmission. It is from Captain of the Fleet. He says it is urgent. Took the communication privately. The captain appeared on his screen. He looked troubled. Admiral said, I am taking a great risk contacting you. I wanted you to know that not all in the coalition support this action. Many of us feel this is wrong. Then withdraw, said simply. It is not that simple. Our governments have committed, but when the battle begins, hesitated. Watch for those who hesitate. Some of us will not fight with full conviction. The transmission ended. Considered this. It was not much, but it was something. The days passed. The coalition fleet completed its assembly and began moving toward human space. 3,000 warships in the largest military formation ever seen. They jumped through space in waves, getting closer to Earth's border with each day. On Earth, people prepared. They knew the enemy was coming, but they also knew what they stood for, what they had built, why it mattered. President Harper addressed the planet in a broadcast that reached every human settlement. We face our greatest challenge, she said. An enemy that outnumbers us 3-1, but we have something they lack. Unity of purpose, certainty in our cause, the knowledge that we fight not for conquest or pride, but for the right to defend those who cannot defend themselves. Whatever happens, she continued, humanity has shown the galaxy what we are. We have proven that moral courage matters, that standing for justice is worth any cost. If we fall knowing we did what was right. But her final words carried hope. We have surprised the galaxy before. We will do it again. The human fleet moved to the border and waited, 1,000 ships facing the approach of 3,000. The crews were nervous but determined. They had trained for this. They believed in this. Admiral gave one final order to all ships. Do not fire first. Let them make the choice. But if they attack, show them what humanity is capable of. Show them that we will never surrender, never back down, never stop fighting for what we believe in. The coalition fleet arrived at the border of human space. They formed up in battle formation, a massive wall of warships stretching across the void. It was meant to be intimidating. It was. Sent a transmission to the human fleet. His face appeared on every screen. Humans, you have violated galactic law, you have attacked member species, you have refused council authority. Surrender your fleet immediately or face destruction. Admiral composed his response carefully, then he sent it. The Galactic Council abandoned Earth when we needed help. You have no authority over us. We will not surrender. We will know the two fleets faced each other in silence. 3,000 coalition warships against 1,000 human vessels. Space itself seemed to hold its breath. Admiral watched his tactical display. Every enemy ship was tracked. Every firing solution calculated. His fleet was ready. But he also knew the cost of this battle would be terrible. Even if humanity won, the losses would be devastating. Sir, his communications officer said, multiple transmissions coming from the coalition fleet. They are not on the main channel. Frowned, show me. The signals were coming from individual ships. Not coordinated messages, but scattered communications between vessels in the coalition fleet. His translators worked to decode them. They are arguing, his intelligence officer reported. Internal disputes. Some captains are questioning the attack order. Felt a spark of hope. Maybe he had been telling the truth. Maybe the coalition was not as unified as it appeared. On the other side of the battlefield, Captain sat on his bridge and faced a choice. His orders were clear. Attack when Admiral gave the signal. His duty as an officer demanded obedience, but his honor as a warrior demanded something else. Captain, his weapons officer said, "We are receiving the attack order." Looked at his crew, young who trusted him to lead them well. He thought about the recordings he had watched. Human ships protecting the human soldiers bringing medical aid. Human leaders speaking about justice and protection. Then he thought about what he was being ordered to do. Attack the species that had done those things. Destroy them for the crime of helping others. "No," said quietly. His crew stared at him. "Sir." I said no, stood up. "Patch me through to Admiral and prepare to break formation." Across the coalition fleet, other captains made similar choices. The commander, whose species had once been saved from pirates by Galactic Council forces, remembered what it meant to receive help when needed. The captain thought about her own children and how she would want someone to protect them if she could not. One by one, ships began breaking formation. Admiral saw it on his displays and could not believe what was happening. "What are they doing? All ships maintain formation. That is an order." But 16 species were no longer listening. Their ships turned away from the human fleet. Some sent messages explaining their decision. Others simply left without a word. The coalition fleet that had numbered 3,000 now counted barely 1,600. "Admiral's tactical officer said nervously, "We have lost nearly half our forces." Stared at the display. His perfect plan was collapsing. The overwhelming numbers he had counted on were gone. Against 1,600 ships, the humans might actually win. Their technology was superior. Their tactics were proven. The battle that was supposed to be easy would now be brutal. And for what? To punish a species for saving innocent lives. On the human side, Admiral watched the coalition fleet fragment. He saw ships withdrawing, saw the confusion spreading through enemy formations. He understood what was happening. Those species remembered what humanity had done. They saw the difference between humanity's actions and what they were being ordered to do. "Sir, should we press the advantage?" his tactical officer asked. "If we attack now while they are disorganized?" "No," said firmly. "We came here to defend ourselves, not to slaughter confused enemies. We hold position." Daniel Carter's message began broadcasting, the one he had recorded days ago. His voice filled every channel. "To the species who have withdrawn from the coalition, we see you. We understand your courage. It takes strength to stand for what is right when everyone around you demands otherwise. Humanity will remember your choice. To those still prepared to attack us, we do not want this fight. We have no quarrel with you. We only want to live according to our values, to help those who need help. If you can accept that, there is no need for blood to be spilled today." Listened to the message and felt something he rarely experienced, doubt. His fleet was half its original size. The humans were not attacking despite having a clear advantage. They were offering peace even now. But his pride would not allow surrender. The Empire did not back down. "All remaining ships prepare to engage. We attack on my mark." Several more ships broke formation. Captains who had been wavering made their final decision. They would not fight this battle. Captain led a group of ships away from the coalition. As he passed the human lines, he sent a transmission. "Admiral, the fleet withdraws. We will not fight against those who fight for honor." Acknowledged the message. Then he opened a channel to, "Captain, if the battle starts, will others follow your example?" "I cannot speak for all," replied, "but many in the coalition have doubts if they see an honorable way out." Understood, he had one chance to avoid this battle, one chance to reshape everything without firing a shot. He composed a message and sent it on all frequencies. "Coalition forces, I am Admiral of the United Defense Force. You came here to force humanity to surrender, to punish us for helping others. I want every captain out there to think carefully about what happens next. If this battle begins, many will die, your crews, my crews. Good people following orders they may not believe in. And for what purpose? To prove that the strong can force the weak to submit, to show that helping others is a crime." He paused, letting his words sink in. "Or you can make a different choice. You can stand down, return to your homes, tell your leaders that you will not fight an unjust war. That takes more courage than pulling a trigger. That is true strength. Humanity does not want to be your enemy. We want to be your ally in building a galaxy where justice means something, where protection is real, where no species stands alone when they need help. That galaxy is possible, but only if enough of you choose to make it real. The silence that followed was absolute. Every captain in both fleets waited. Every crew member held their breath. On the flagship prepared to give the final attack order, but his communications officer interrupted. "Sir, more ships are withdrawing. The 23 species total now." Looked at his display. His fleet had shrunk to less than 700 ships, against 1,000 human vessels with superior technology. The battle was already lost. "Admiral," his first officer said quietly, "perhaps we should reconsider." "The Empire does not retreat," roared. But even as he said it, more ships were leaving. His own fleet was fracturing. Some captains were questioning whether this fight served their people or just their admiral's pride. Then a new transmission came through. It was from the Council of Elders, the civilian government that technically outranked all military officers. "Admiral, you are ordered to stand down immediately. Negotiations with the humans will proceed through diplomatic channels. This fleet action is terminated." Felt his world collapse. Even his own government was abandoning him. He looked at the tactical display one more time, at the human ships waiting patiently, at his own fleet scattered and confused. He had lost, not through battle, but through something worse, through being shown that his cause was wrong. "All ships," he said slowly, "stand down, power down weapons, we are withdrawing." The coalition fleet dissolved. Ships turned away one by one. Some sent messages of apology to the human fleet, others left in shame. Within an hour, the space that had held 3,000 warships was nearly empty. Humanity had won without firing a single shot. On Earth, President Harper watched the reports with relief. No casualties, no destroyed ships. The enemy had simply chosen not to fight. It was the best possible outcome. "We should capitalize on this," one of her advisors said. "Show strength, make demands while they are weak." "No," Harper said firmly. "That is not who we are. We offer the hand of friendship to all who want it. No demands, no threats, just partnership." Over the next weeks, the galaxy reorganized itself. The Galactic Council tried to continue as before, but it was hollow. Too many species had withdrawn. Too many had lost faith in the old system. Daniel Carter found himself hosting a summit on Earth. Representatives from 42 species attended. They came seeking something better than the Council, a new way of organizing galactic affairs. "We propose the Galactic Defense Alliance," Daniel announced to the assembled delegates. "Built on simple principles, mutual protection that is real, accountability for aggression. No species stands alone when they face destruction. No political calculations about whether helping someone is convenient." The representative elder stood to speak. His people had recovered from the attack with human help. "To support this proposal completely, we have seen what humanity offers, not domination, not control, just genuine protection and friendship." One by one, species pledged support. The alliance formed quickly. Not everyone joined. Some species remained loyal to the old council. Others preferred independence, but 42 species was enough to change everything. The alliance charter was simple. Any member attacked by external forces would receive immediate military support from all others. Members would settle disputes through arbitration, not force. Resources would be pooled for mutual defense. And most importantly, any species could call for help to protect innocent populations anywhere, even outside Alliance territory. It was everything the Galactic Council should have been, but never was. Admiral took command of the Alliance military forces, not as a conqueror or enforcer, but as coordinator. Each species maintained their own fleets, but they trained together, shared technology, developed joint tactics. The human fleet remained the largest and most advanced, but made sure other species had access to humanity's technology breakthroughs. Within 2 years, shipyards were producing modern warships. Crews trained on human vessels. The alliance grew stronger together. The old Galactic Council continued to exist, but it was irrelevant now. Member species kept leaving. Trade routes shifted to alliance-controlled space. The Council's authority faded. One day, Daniel Carter received an unexpected visitor. It was Thorol, the former council speaker. The looked old and tired. I came to see what you have built here, Thorol said. They stood in the Alliance headquarters, watching species from dozens of worlds working together. It is what you could have built, Daniel replied without anger, just sadness. If the Council had chosen justice over convenience, protection over politics. We made mistakes, Thorol admitted. We thought stability mattered more than morality. We were wrong. Daniel looked at him. Why are you telling me this? Because I want you to know that some of us understand now. Too late to change what happened, but perhaps not too late to learn from it. They watched an engineer helping a technician with a power core design. Species that had never worked together before, collaborating easily. This is what the galaxy should be, Daniel said. People helping each other, standing together, no one abandoned, no one ignored. Will you allow the Council to join your alliance? Thorol asked. Daniel considered carefully. If the Council dissolves and its member species apply individually, we will consider each application fairly. But the Council as an institution, that failed. We cannot resurrect it. Thorol nodded slowly. He had expected that answer. The Council he had led for decades was ending. Perhaps that was justice. 3 months later, Captain Lisa Morgan stood on the bridge of the USS Liberty and watched a joint patrol within ships. They were protecting a trade route in a neutral sector. 3 species working together, keeping innocent merchants safe from pirates. Hard to believe this is the same galaxy, her first officer Carl said. Lisa smiled. Same galaxy, different choices, that is all it takes. Far away in what remained of the Galactic Council chambers, the final session was held. Only 12 species still attended. They voted to dissolve the Council officially. Some members would join the Galactic Defense Alliance. Others would remain independent. But the Council itself was finished. Former Speaker Thorol gave the final statement. We failed in our duty. We forgot that power comes with responsibility. That protection must be real, not just words. Let our failure be a lesson. Let what the humans built be the example. The lights in the ancient chamber dimmed for the last time. On Earth, Admiral stood with President Harper and looked up at the stars. The Alliance now included 63 species. More applied every month. Human warships patrolled from one end of known space to the other, not as conquerors but as guardians. We did it, Harper said quietly. We actually changed everything. Nodded, we showed them what was possible. When someone chooses to do the right thing, even when it is hard, even when it costs them, that choice matters. Do you think it will last? Harper asked. Nothing lasts forever, admitted. But we have built something good, something worth protecting. Future generations will have to maintain it, but we gave them a foundation. That is enough. Daniel Carter joined them. The former ambassador had become the Alliance's first Secretary General. He looked tired but satisfied. The Empire has formally apologized, he said. They are requesting observer status in the Alliance, not membership yet, just a chance to prove they have changed. What do you think? Harper asked. I think everyone deserves a chance at redemption, Daniel replied. Even those who wronged us, that is what makes us different. They stood together in comfortable silence. 3 humans who had guided their species through its darkest hour and into its greatest triumph, not through conquest, not through domination, but through standing for principles when no one else would. The galaxy had been reshaped, not by the strongest military, not by the richest empire, but by a species that refused to become what hurt them. That chose protection over revenge, that stood for justice even when standing alone. Admiral spoke the truth they all felt. We left the Council not to turn away from the galaxy, but to save it. We built a fleet not to conquer, but to protect. We returned not for revenge, but for redemption. And perhaps that is the most human thing we could have done. Above them, the stars shone bright. And among those stars, 1,000 human warships patrolled alongside vessels from 63 other species, all united by a simple idea that no one should stand alone, that justice should mean something, that the strong have a duty to protect the weak. The galaxy would never be perfect. There would always be new challenges, new threats, new moral tests, but now there was also hope, real hope, based not on empty promises but on proven action. Earth had been abandoned, but Earth had returned, and in returning had given the galaxy something it desperately needed, proof that choosing right over easy was possible, that courage and compassion could triumph, that a better future was not just a dream. The reshaping was complete. The rest was up to everyone who believed in what had been built, up to every species that joined, every captain that served, every citizen that supported the dream of a galaxy where justice was real and protection was genuine. Humanity had shown the way. Now it was time for the galaxy to walk that path together. Disarm. If you attack, we will defend ourselves. The choice is yours. The two fleets faced each other across empty space. 3,000 ships versus 1,000, the largest confrontation in galactic history. One side or the other would have to blink first. She turned to face him. But I can promise you this, that we'll never stand alone again. Not while humanity has ships to send and people willing to fight for what is right. Felt something he had not felt in days. Hope. Above them the stars shone bright, and among those stars the message continued to spread. Humanity had returned, and the galaxy would never be the same. And 99 other ships did the same. They were spread across space, positioned and waiting. Admiral sent one word, go. The human fleet jumped to faster-than-light speed. Their destination, their mission, save a species that the Council had abandoned. Just as humanity had been abandoned 5 years before. And more than that, building a fleet that could protect those who had no protection, so that no other species would have to stand in a council chamber and beg for justice that never came. As the meeting ended and people filed out, Admiral remained at the window. He looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there they were celebrating. The council was moving on to other business. They thought Earth was broken. They had no idea what was coming.